is Aidan Hutchinson a lock to be the number one overall pick? Now, you put that question down last week. There has been a seismic shift since that time. And one of the evidence or one illustration of that is from the gambling.
That's right. So Caesar Sportsbook for the last 3 months has had Aidan Hutchinson as their favorite. In most cases, their odds-on favorite to be the number one overall pick. The end for Michigan, everyone just accepted it and put it in pen. Until literally last night. So I've checked this every few days. And as it stands at this very moment, Trayvon Walker, the defensive end, the edge rusher out of Georgia, who has been rising up draft boards over the last couple months, is now minus 200. He's an odds-on favorite himself now to become the number one overall pick. So that has changed in the last 24 hours. For the longest time, it was Hutchinson, and now Walker's in the driver's seat.
As the number one pick in the draft. And again, he was, if any of you who follow college football closely know, he was about the fifth most well-known player on that defense. Georgia had one of the great defenses in college football history this year, and they used it to win the national championship. But this is a guy who, because I've been following this stuff as closely as you can follow it, when these mock drafts first started coming out in December, or you have it here, the mock draft that, is this Mel or McShay's mock? Doesn't matter. In the middle of January, he was projected to go 24th. And then as the process has moved along, he went from 24th in that mock to 16th in the next mock to 12th to 2nd. And now it looks like he's going to go first. So what do I think of that? It scares me to death if I'm the person thinking of taking him, because that suggests that when we stop watching the tape, stop watching what he did on the field, and look at the remarkable physical gifts which he has, a person of his size and strength to be as fast and as quick as he is, it's ridiculous. So he's one of these fell in love with him at the combine kind of people, and he is going to vault all the way up, it appears now, to the number one pick in the draft as a result.
So the game in which Georgia beat Bama in the national championship, that was January the 10th. Kuiper's mock, his first one after that was the 19th, at which point, like you said, he was the 24th overall pick. I am all for using the data science to help you make informed decisions, but you can't possibly convince me that if you were the 24th best player in the country when the season ended, you can now be the number one pick in the draft just because of that. I mean, Aidan Hutchinson had more sacks and more pressures than Walker this season than Walker did in his entire career. You have to have some marriage between production and the data science, and obviously if he winds up going 1-1, then look, I mean, you might as well not even watch the freaking tape from the season. I don't know how else to say it. He was, like you said, the fifth best player on Georgia's defense, and he might be the first pick in the country.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They have all these other guys. So we will see, but that appears to be the direction that it's going. So that'll be the beginning of our draft prep. Let's move forward. You next asked me, 5 years from now, which quarterback in this class will have had the most success in the NFL? I'm going to give you a cop-out answer. The answer to the question, which guy can be the best, is unquestionably Malik Willis. Malik Willis, who's the quarterback from Liberty, has the skill set to be, I don't even know, Kyler Murray, that kind of player. He is an extraordinarily dynamic runner with a cannon for an arm, but it's raw. And the question is, does he get developed properly? You've heard me say a million times, far more young quarterbacks come into the NFL and are destroyed than are developed. So I think he has the most talent, and it's not even close. And everyone around him loves him. I mean, they rave about the attitude, the character, all that kind of stuff. So I think he's got all of he's like a lump of clay, right? But it's got to be molded properly. And if molded properly, it's the highest quality clay. Like it's the clay that could turn into like a statue that you want to put in a museum and look at for the rest of your life. No other quarterback in this year's class has has clay that quality. But many of the others, particularly Kenny Pickett, who's the other guy who's going to go in the first round, their clay is already a lot more molded. Like you don't have to spend nearly as much time and energy doing the molding because it's already almost made. So those are the two guys. I think there were huge questions about everybody else. So I think the answer is if he's lucky, if he winds up in a good situation, Malik Willis has a chance to be a really good NFL quarterback. It's going to really come down to where he winds up. It's funny because the next question you had is, which player drafted in the top 10 would you consider the biggest boom or bust candidate? I was going to say Trayvon Walker for exactly the reasons we just laid out, that he is a player who, based upon his play, was considered to be a late first-round option. And now all of a sudden he's going to go number 1. And I was going to say this when I thought he might go number 4 to the Jets. So I'm honestly a little bit relieved that he's not going to, because it doesn't seem that way. I'll do one more here, and then we'll have time for some more. You have a bunch of really good questions in here about the Jets and the Giants and some other teams that have multiple picks. But you ask, which is the most interesting player tidbit that I've encountered? And I'll give you this one. Bernard Ryman is an offensive lineman from Central Michigan. He's a kid who grew up in Austria. He played for the Vienna Vikings. He came to the United States on as an exchange student. The family that hosted him had a former Central Michigan player in their family. He sort of fell in love with that idea. So after he finished his exchange student time, he went back to Austria. He completed his mandatory military service, came back to the United States, played at Central Michigan, and is now going to be most likely a first-round pick in the NFL draft. By the way, he's 25 years old. So that to me is the most interesting of the many interesting little stories about the players whose names we will call on Thursday and Friday night on ESPN.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.